change gon' come. A change gon' come. A change gon' come. A change gon' come. A change gon' come.
In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the merciful. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The way the most honorable of creation started his letters or documentation in light of the saying of Allah. فَمَن يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِن بِاللَّهِ فَقَدِ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى لَا انفِصَامَ لَهَا. There is no compulsion in religion. The right way stands clear, distinguished from the wrong way. Hence, he who rejects the associates other than Allah and believes in Allah has grasped the most firm handhold. The intent is to glorify monotheism and convey the divine order to it and to glorify its importance. It's also an objective to belittle and degrade polytheism and repel from it and warn against it. وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا, and worship Allah and don't associate with Him. فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنْبِكَ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ. Know that there is no God except Allah and seek forgiveness for your sin and for the believing men and women. And Abdullah ibn Abbas رضي الله عنه أنه قال لما بعث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم معاذ بن جبل رضي الله عنه إلى نحو أهل اليمن قال له إنك تقدم على قوم من أهل الكتاب فليكن أول ما تدعوهم إلى أن يوحدوا الله تعالى فإذا عرفوا ذلك فأخبرهم أن الله قد فرض عليهم 5 صلوات في يومهم وليلتهم متفق عليه. On the authority of Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with them, that he said, when the Prophet, peace be upon him, sent Mu'az, son of Jabal, may Allah be pleased with him, to the side of the people of Yemen, he told him, you come to people of the book. Let the first that you call them to be monotheism, oneness of Allah. And if they know that, tell them that Allah made obligatory 5 prayers in a day and a night. Agreed upon by Bukhari and Muslim. وقال إبراهيم التيمي رحمه الله من يأمن من البلاء بعد خليل الله إبراهيم حين يقول وجنبني وبني أن نعبد الأصنام رواه ابن جرير وأبي حاتم. Ibrahim al-Taymi, may Allah be pleased with him, said, who is safe from tragedy after Ibrahim the Khalil when he said, and guard me and my offspring from the worship of statues. Narrated by Ibn Jarir and Ibn Abi Hatim. And Mujib, son of Musa, said, I saw Sufyan al-Thawri crying on the way to Mecca. So I told him, O Sufyan, O Abu Abdullah, are you crying fearing sins? He took a stick and threw it and said, my sins are lighter to me than that, but I fear that I get detached from monotheism, Tawheed. Narrated by Abu Na'im al-Sabahani in the history of Asbahan, and Bayhaqi in Sha'b al-Iman. The proofs mentioned are to highlight the purpose. The first proof addresses upholding the firm handhold, and upholding is in the context of firmly grasping and strongly getting attached to that firm handhold. So a slave firmly upholds that firm handhold through 2 things. The first is disbelief in associates, and the second is firm belief in Allah. And the 2 meanings gather the meaning of worshipping Allah by affirming the right of worship to Allah, believing in Him, and negating that right to anyone other than Allah. And this is the meaning of La ilaha illallah. There is no God other than Allah. And associates, taghut, could be one of 2 things. The first is a specific meaning, the devil, and it's the one intended when unspecified in the Quran, like when the word taghut is mentioned and specified in the Quran. The second is a general meaning which refers to that which a slave exceeds the limits of worship, following, and obedience, as mentioned by Ibn Qayyim in A'lam al-Muwaqqi'in, and was considered by Abdul Rahman ibn Hassan in Fath al-Majid and Sulaiman ibn Shahman the best in what is mentioned in defining the limits of associates, Taghut. And the saying of Allah, وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا, and worship Allah and don't associate with Him. Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, mentioned, every mention in Quran from worship refers to Tawheed. And Tawheed, from an Islamic perspective, has two meanings. The first is a general meaning, which is not associating with Allah in His right. And the second is a specific meaning, which is worshipping none other than Allah. And the specific meaning is what's usually attributed to in the legislative context, and forbidding from shirk is in the saying of Allah, وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. And shirk could have two meanings. The first is making part of the right of Allah to other than Him, and the second, performing an act of worship to other than Allah. And the specific meaning is what is referred to when unconditionally mentioned in legislative speech. So the verse means unifying Allah in acts of worship and not associating with Him anyone or anything else, which entails that the greatest order is Tawheed. And the greatest thing we are forbidden to commit is shirk. And the clues indicating the magnification of each is in two aspects. The first is the fact that they are put ahead than orders present in the same verse, and what is put forth is in essence due to its importance, and it was indicated in the book of Tawheed. The second is the fact that acts of worship that came after them are associated with them, known as atf in the Arabic language, making them the essence, meaning that the preceding is the essence and the latter is following the essence. فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنْبِكَ. Know that there is no God other than Allah, and seek forgiveness for your sin. A clear order to learn about Tawheed through its word that indicates to it, the word of Tawheed, which is La ilaha illallah. And the ayah could be understood as an order to learn about Tawheed. And the verse was revealed in Medina, and the order to the Prophet to learn about Tawheed after reaching very high levels and measures on it by calling to it in Mecca is a clear announcement to the severe need to learn it, and that a slave needs that at all stages in time, as addressed by Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab in his message to Prince Thunayyan ibn Saud, may Allah have mercy on him. And if the greatest of creation dearly needed to call to Tawheed, then we are more worthy and more needy. And that is an essence in the call to Allah, as can be comprehended from Imam of Dawah, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, and his peer knowledgeable scholars during their time. And the hadith of sending Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu to the direction of the people of Yemen, it indicates to the intention of the topic in two ways. The first is the fact that the first thing they should be called to is Tawheed. This clearly indicates that Tawheed is the first order to a slave, and this is in two portions. The first is real priority. For a disbeliever, if he becomes Muslim, the first thing he or she needs to abide by is Tawheed. And the second is a priority of legislation. For a Muslim growing up practicing, since the order at early ages to pray at 7 is part of being a muwahhid, since his prayer is not accepted without Tawheed, and that applies to all acts of worship, as can be comprehended in the hadith that they only ordered with prayer after knowing Tawheed. And the saying of Ibrahim al-Taymi, who is saved from tragedy after Ibrahim, peace be upon him, the Khalil, narrated by Ibn Jarir in his tafsir. And the indication to the intention of the topic in the part that goes, who is safe after the Khalil Ibrahim alayhi salam? One who became in a level unmatched except with the Prophet, peace be upon him, when he says, وَجِنُبْنِي وَبَنِيَ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ, and guard me and my offsprings from the worship of these statues. So if that's Ibrahim, peace be upon him, fearing shirk, then others are much more worthy of it. If it's extremely inappropriate that a slave disregards the right of another slave, then what of the creator of all slaves? What of the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And that is why Allah said He does not forgive those who die upon shirk. And the mention of Mujib, son of Musa Sabahani, where he mentioned seeing Abu Sufyan dropping a stick while on the way to Mecca, the indication to the intention of the topic is in the saying of Sufyan, but I fear that I get detached from monotheism, from Tawheed. Because if a slave loses Tawheed, he becomes from amongst the mushrikeen. And the two last sayings are considered proofs, bearing in mind that the sayings of scholars are backed up with proof. They need to be backed up with proof, and they're not proof in and of themselves. And the above two proofs are considered proofs for three aspects. The first is that they are considered proof since they go along the pre-mentioned proofs that back them up, and what preceded them adds to their strength when put in sequence. The second is that they are considered proof in consideration of following up on proofs, and they are not proofs when they are mentioned, without being backed up with such evidence. And this is a habit of Ahlus Sunnah, the people of Sunnah, to mention that which is not a proof in and of itself, backed up with solidifying evidence. The third is they are proofs in consideration of rulings, not actually, for they are not proofs in reality, but are narrated as proofs since they are from the sayings of ijtihad of scholars. Ash-Shatibi said, the fatwa of those of ijtihad to public like proof for those scholars, meaning that the weight of the ijtihad fatwa of scholars to laymen is like proofs, is like the level of proofs to scholars. And that is not due to the secrecy of their saying, rather the difficulty a layman finds when referring to proofs and the great understanding of the scholars, so long as they fear in religion, they are straight in obedience, and they are sharp in sight, then such a scholar or such scholars would never attempt or think of misleading individuals.
It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. A change gon' come. A change gon' come. A change gon' come. A change gon' come.